Running a small business means I wear lots of hats. When I put on my hiring hat, I can count on LinkedIn Hiring Pro to make it easy. LinkedIn Hiring Pro helps manage my hiring workflow, puts my job post in front of a unique network of professionals, and matches me with the best candidates for my business. I can also share my job with my network. No other job site lets me do that. No wonder most small businesses say they'd use LinkedIn Hiring Pro again. Hire right the first time. Post your job for free on LinkedIn today at linkedin.com/quality.
Hi, and welcome to Kay Let's Talk, the podcast where we break down storytelling across books, television, and film with a special love for book-to-screen adaptations. Here, we talk about craft, character arcs, structure, dialogue, visual language, and the creative choices that shape how a story lands. If you like thoughtful conversational deep dives into the stories you can't stop thinking about, you're in the right place. Let's talk.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. This week, we are at episode 4 of Heated Rivalry. We are breaking down all of the music in the show, and this week I'm so excited to be breaking down episode 4 titled Rose, where we get so many great needle drops, so many great tunes from the original score and the soundtrack, and lots of moments and scenes that correlate with them that are very significant in the overarching story. So I have been looking forward to discussing the music of this episode, and I hope that you guys are ready to discuss it with me. If you are new to this series, I have been breaking down the music in all of the episodes of the show, both soundtrack and score, and comparing it to the scenes that they are used in, and talking about all the different ways that they function and aid in telling this story. This was inspired by an interview that Jacob Tierney gave, where he talked about his intentions with the soundtrack and score and how it all came together. And so I've been really enjoying this series. I think a lot of people have been enjoying it too. I've got a lot of great feedback in my inbox, and I am thrilled to hear that. I'm so glad everyone's enjoying this musical little series on the podcast. So without further ado, let's break down the music of episode 4. So to preface, songs in film and television are rarely used at random. They're usually functioning as a window into the character's internal monologues and are used to show emotions or conflicts or thoughts that a character is having when they are unable to speak out loud. So in a single scene, a song can often make that underlying subtext more clear in ways that maybe the acting cannot. And we come across a number of sequences in episode 4 where the music becomes more cumulative and not only helps to inform us as viewers of a character's emotional arc or their mental state or describe the sequence of scenes that are being put together, but the music also helps to shape the atmosphere of the scene. And at points within this episode, it can also signal important cultural contexts as well and help to ground us as viewers in a specific place for a prolonged period of screen time. So I wanted to preface the start of this recording with that because I think this episode does a masterful job of including that cultural reference in particular. So the first song that we hear in episode 4 is called Strangers on the Ice by Peter from the original score. And this song is only 45 or 46 seconds long, but it's used in a very important scene because we go a whole episode where we don't see Shane and Ilya together because this is coming on the tail of episode 3, which covers Scott and Kip's story. And the last time we saw the two of them together was in Vegas when Shane left Ilya's hotel room, got into the elevator, and we get the infamous "we didn't even kiss" moment. So this opening scene is trying to establish the mood between them for the viewer, and the title being Strangers on the Ice aids in telling the story too, because it had been a whole summer where they were apart after they attended the awards in Vegas. So now a new season is beginning, and in the context of the show, we see this song playing over footage from a game between Boston and Montreal, where we can hear the commentators doing their play-by-play. So this sporty beat in this song mirrors what we've already heard over all of the hockey scenes before this one. We can see that Boston is winning 2-1 with 3 minutes left in the third. We can see Ilya score his second goal of the night, and here Shane was on the ice for both of them. And the music dials way down and then almost cuts out completely when the two of them are at the face-off dot and we see them speaking for the first time. While Ilya is egging Shane on about scoring a hat trick now or waiting until the last second, if you've read the book, this dialogue confirms that this scene is actually from the prologue of Heated Rivalry, which means that it's taking place in October of 2016 if they're following the book timeline. When the two of them take the face-off and Ilya wins, he then scores this hat trick, and the music maintains the same tempo until the voiceover says, "The Montreal captain wants this whole night back." And we can hear the booing of the crowd, and that's when the scene breaks and we enter into the opening montage of the episode, which uses the song My Moon, My Man, and it spans 2 years. So this kind of tees up 2 years in the timeline for us and sees just how much tension was between the two of them in this meeting after Vegas, because clearly it's affecting Shane. And without the backstory of how the prologue ends, you would assume that these two were not speaking after Vegas, but then the introduction of the montage provides a little more context while moving the plot forward. So either way, the song is meant to, again, remind us of all the hockey moments in the show because it shares that same upbeat techno vibe to it. But the song is also there to serve as a way to highlight the disconnect between them at this point in time. The next song we hear is My Moon, My Man by Feist, which plays over the 2-year-long montage that we see on the show, which is one of my favorite montages, and it's just so beautifully done. And in the book, we follow Shane into the locker room. He does a post-game press conference where Ilya had continued to egg Shane on via the press by saying that he wished Shane had been playing tonight. And then in the prologue, it goes on to show Shane going back to his house to meet Ilya there. And the whole time he was telling himself that he would be ending things between them soon. And he feels disappointed in himself and disgusted by his own weaknesses when it comes to Ilya. So he pretends to tell himself that he's been trying to get out of this mess for 6 years with Ilya, but we all know he has not. And in the show, they choose to skip over that scene where they meet up that night and instead use a montage. And it starts with Ilya running in Moscow, where we've seen him running before. And we see Shane and Ilya start to text one another, and it shows up on screen again where they're wishing each other a good summer and demonstrating not only how time is passing, but their dynamic is continuing to evolve. And the lyrics of this song work really well with the montage. And it was definitely an intentional choice by Jacob because Shane is working out, spending time with Hayden. Ilya continues to be alone when he works out. And the lyric is, "Heart on my sleeve, not where it should be. The song's out of key again," which is a great way to kick off this montage because we can see that over time, the song being out of key is representative of them being apart from one another or there being a misalignment within themselves. And Ilya and Svetlana are at a party together. We can see that he handles his off seasons very differently than Shane. And this is when we spot Shane's glasses for the first time. And we get the line, shed some light on me, please," which is another awesome lyric that relates back to the episode we just watched with Scott and Kip and the concept of them deserving sunshine and coming out into the light like Shane and Ilya would like to do. Again, as we navigate through this montage, we see things like Shane doing his brand deals and commercials that are not aligned with him as a person per se, because we know Shane likes ginger ale, and here he's seen promoting an orange soda, and we never see him drink it on screen outside of this promotion. And Yuna is trying to make him a brand and take advantage of his visibility so that he's set up for his retirement down the road. And I also love the shots where we see Ilya and Shane looking at their schedules to see when they play each other next, because they're both in the Atlantic Division, so they'd be playing each other 4 times in the regular season. And that's when we start to get, further along in the timeline, Ilya tells Shane, see you soon. We can see that it's in October now. They're going to be playing each other that month. And that's when the lyrics say, my moon and me not as good as we've been, which is a great lyric to imply that they've been apart and that this will be the first time that they meet each other this season. And then the lyrics continue, it's the dirtiest clean I know, which is also the perfect lyric here too, because it implies that the connection that they have is almost lying to itself. It's the most honest thing that they know, but it's wrong and not allowed in their heads. We see Shane on the ice against Boston, skating down the ice and then getting hit in the corner by Ilya. And then that is spliced with a shot of them together having sex in Shane's apartment. And Ilya is being very dominant. There's also a very subtle voiceover where we can hear Ilya say, I want to please you in that moment as well. This is game 1. Then we see game 2 because Shane is in a different jersey and Ilya's jersey has also changed. And so we can see that we're going through these meetings during the year very quickly between them. We then follow that with the shot of Shane in the shower, and we fast forward through the remainder of the season, and we see that Shane and the Metros have won the cup, which is Shane's first cup, and Ilya is watching it on the TV alone in his living room in the dark. We see him smile. Hayden and the rest of the guys, move on to the next season. It's summer 2015, and the same sequence of Ilya running in Moscow starts over again. I love the way that so many of the lyrics in this song line up with things that we're seeing on screen. So saying the calendar page again, when Shane and Ilya are often looking at the calendar to see when they will see each other once again. Take it slow, take it easy on me, shed some light on me, please. I think that that's also indicative of the emotions between the two of them because they know that they can both hurt one another and they want to be in the light with one another. I think that's a central theme to the show. I think my care, my coat, leave on a high note. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go is also a fascinating one, given that the two of them are often hiding and in secret. They have this very big high when they're together, and then we know in the book internally that they then hit a very low point when they are apart and when they leave, especially for Shane. And I also think that my moon, the moon and my man, and that juxtaposition of being in moonlight initially is very reflective of all the visual cues we've seen because they often are meeting up with one another at night in the dark after their games, which would be very late at night. So they would be doing this under the light of the moon and never in the light of day. And so a song that talks about that reinforms us of that dynamic of being in moonlight or being hidden in the shadows, and then also wanting light shed on them and asking, shed light on me, please, is, I think, so clever. And it really makes sense of so many of the shots that we see of them together in this montage. It's covering a lot of ground. And also we're watching both of them at nighttime in their bed, for Shane reading, and also Ilya at nighttime in clubs. So again, it's a very interesting way to use a song and reinforce a narrative. There's also the lyric "Heart on My Sleeve" when Shane texts Ilya first and invites him to his house for their hookup and makes a joke about the dark alley and the back door, which we saw Ilya enter through in episode 2. So that's another way for Shane to indirectly show Ilya that he listens to what he says because he remembered that throwaway line from 2013. All of the clips of them in Shane's apartment and everything, I love this because it's a huge payoff for the end of the episode because we're seeing that fresh in our minds of all the times that Shane and Ilya have been in there together ahead of when Shane and Rose are there at the end of the episode, especially when we see them kissing and going up the stairs, and then can compare it directly to Shane and Rose later on. By the end of this montage, the timeline has moved to October 2016, and we're in Montreal. And while Ilya is watching a documentary about Shane, there is music playing underneath it. And I thought it was notable that the backbeat of it is very, very quick, possibly to simulate Ilya's fast beating heart while he's watching Shane on screen, but it's nothing that is noted as a song or part of the original score. But I just thought that that sound mixing and choice there was really interesting and also added to what you would insinuate Ilya is feeling watching him on screen. The next song that we hear is Dark Glow by Peter from the original score, and this plays when Svetlana and Ilya are in the car on the way to the club, and we see them in the back seat. The dark glow of their cell phones is illuminating their faces, which is reminiscent of the title, and Svetlana asks Ilya if he is seeing someone, and we hear him lying to her, and the somber music is definitely meant to suggest that he feels unease over being asked, or perhaps discomfort over lying to her, and then discomfort again when Svetlana mentions Sasha. And this gave me the same sort of unease as I felt when listening to the song from episode 2 called Shivers from the Past, which played when Ilya and Sasha were talking in the bathroom. These two songs are meant to tune us into Ilya's feelings of discomfort or sadness or unease in the scene more than anything else. And this song is only 54 seconds long. And in those 54 seconds, it lulls us into that mood that Ilya would be driving into this club and losing himself in his phone thinking of Shane. There's also a very quiet fizzing sound that we have heard before, which is created by the keyboard holding the note down right when Ilya lies and tells Svetlana that the thing with Jane is nothing serious. There's nothing between them worth noting. And that would imply that anxiety or nervousness around that line of questioning, which I love because we hear this type of prolonged keyboard note in the Heartbeat series as well as in the Utopia series. And I think the next song we hear in this episode as well. So when Shane and Ilya are waking up before Ilya makes the tuna melt, we hear that same sort of fizzing noise. So hearing it here under this song is almost like foreshadowing or linking Ilya's feelings of unease or anxiety or nervousness as he lays awake in bed and watches Shane sleeping that he may have been experiencing when Svetlana asked him about Shane in the back of this car. The next song is Utopia 1 by Peter, which is when the two of them are waking up before tuna melts. And this song starts when Ilya asks Shane to stay and continues over the scene of them waking up in bed and extends into the moment when Ilya puts a ginger ale in front of Shane from his fridge. And that's when it fully fades, once Shane has the can in his hand and Ilya asks him, "You like tuna melt?" In the book, we know that all of these story beats are terrifying for Shane, who internally is freaking out. But Rachel Reed has also clued us into how terrifying it was for Ilya to plan that whole day and fill his fridge for Shane and lure him into staying the night. He would have been terrified up until Shane agreed to stay, or even until after he offered Shane the ginger ale that he had stocked his fridge with and told him he would make him food. So this song has a really beautiful and simple way of showcasing their dual anxiety, but through a series of notes that also suggests there is peace underneath all of that. There's comfort in being together in this way because, again, in the book, Shane is the person that we are inside the mind of, and he thinks to himself that it feels nice, it feels right, but it's also terrifying and it's scary. So this song kind of marries those two conflicting emotions in a way that I think really captures it quite effectively. The next song is Din of Your Voice by Peter, which is when Ilya is on the phone talking to his father and psychs himself up after the call ends. This song starts right when Ilya asks, "Father, where's Alexei?" And that's our first tip-off that something is wrong back home with Ilya's father and his brother, because it's a song that's used similarly to Dark Glow or Shivers from the Past. It has the same prolonged keyboard notes from Utopia 1, but this song uses a much lower register with this very subtle droning noise behind it, and then it adds in a couple more precise notes on top of it as we get closer and closer to the end of the call, which is when the entire song drops off quite suddenly to mimic how we see Ilya effectively turn off his emotions by shaking out his body and returning to the couch with Shane. The notes in the song are also slightly off-key, so it gives us more of that unpleasantness within our own bodies that Ilya would be experiencing while he's on this call, and knowing that Shane is in the next room. So we see the residual side effects of that when he sits back down on the couch and he's still touching the nape of his neck and trying to settle himself down. And he only really settles down fully when Shane is able to get him to relax. So that leads us perfectly into the final song of the Heartbeat series, which is Heartbeat 3 by Peter Peter. And this is almost 3 minutes long. And it's the moment when the two of them say each other's first names for the first time. And in that 3-minute span, the song takes you on the same ride as Shane and Ilya with all the buzzy, lovey feelings that are reminiscent of Heartbeat 1 and 2, but also married with the same anxiety that I think is so perfectly placed in this Heartbeat series, because even though that feeling feels good, it can also make you nervous. And those two things can be synonymous and happen at the same time. And I think that when you look at the scenes that are tied to this Heartbeat series, it makes it very clear that these are all very important milestones in their relationship, yes, but they're also important milestones in the two of them recognizing their feelings and then taking the time to understand their feelings. Because that is the problem between the two of them that is very hard to capture since they don't communicate well with each other. So I think with Heartbeat 1, you get this very sort of intense feeling of overwhelm, but a little bit of excitement, mostly anxiety. Heartbeat 2, when they hook up in the hotel the second time in Nashville, that is almost like a very rushed, impulsive feeling that they're capturing, which then fizzles out when Shane tells Ilya they can't do that there. So it's this very impulsive action that then slows back down and the anxiety kind of levels itself out. And then this Heartbeat 3 is almost like combining those two things. It feels really good for most of this song. And then at the end, it's like, oh no, I can't have too much of a good thing. There has to be something that I'm not seeing that I should be worrying about. And for Shane in particular, it's hearing Ilya say his name that he uses as the justification of, I got to get out of here, because the song falls apart by the end. And it kind of spirals into that sound that represents anxiety. And we see that on screen in how Shane reacts to the moment. So the song spends the first 2 minutes, I would argue, building up this really swelling, beautiful kind of feeling of overwhelm and joy and happiness. And then the last minute, it slowly starts to come apart in a way that's very subtle. But I think it's like riding a wave, right? You're on the wave with them. You go up, you go down, you're going through this beautiful tunnel created by this wave. You see the light at the end of it, and then you fall, is kind of how I felt when I was listening to it for the first time. And I think that that is exactly what we're watching happen in the scene itself. This next string of songs is an example that I had mentioned earlier where there's so much intentionality put into these song choices because of the environment where they're being used. So it represents a lot of culture in particular because these scenes are taking place at a Haitian bar and are where we're getting to know JJ as a character, and he is Haitian Canadian. So all of the songs that I'm about to list are by Haitian Canadian artists or Haitian artists in particular, which I think is really cool when you take the time to look them all up to see that even though a lot of them are featured as very deep background music playing in the bar, it is authentic. And this would be playing in the bar. So before we get there, we get this song called Serenity by Soul Jazz Orchestra, which is playing when Shane is talking to his parents in the restaurant after he leaves Ilya's at the tuna melt scene. And this song has a lot of Afrobeat in it, but this song is playing as background noise in the scene itself. So it's meant to be atmospheric music for the restaurant versus music that's primarily being used to cue the viewer into the emotions of the characters in this scene, particularly Shane. So they rely heavily on Hudson Williams acting here to convey Shane's emotions, and this song is strictly used as a background noise. So JJ in the books is Haitian Canadian, and he speaks French with a Creole lilt, and JJ invites Shane to this Haitian bar, and the music selection is doing multiple layers of work at once here, because in the sequence the songs are serving as emotional cues into what the character is feeling with the lyrics, but also spatial because of where we are culturally and geographically within this bar, and atmospherically because it gives us a true insight into what the room feels like around the characters themselves. So lyrically, the songs arguably reflect and amplify Shane's inner monologue, but if you're simply observing the scene and don't speak the language, all of that is missed. So when you look further into the song choices and then add on another layer by translating the lyrics, there's so much additional commentary that you can find. And the song choices, again, are all by Haitian and Haitian Canadian artists, which is not incidental. And that choice really roots the scene in authenticity, because that is what would be playing in this bar, and it tells us where we are without exposition, and the show never actually explicitly states that the bar is Haitian, so it instead relies on the music to situate Shane within a cultural space and then reinforces that specificity of the setting while also further fleshing out JJ's character too. The music also impacts this scene tonally because the soundscape of a scene can help to shape the emotional implications of it. So the songs used in these scenes are high energy, but then they also shift into more intimate. And the music, again, informs the mood of a room just as much as the lighting or the camera blocking. And we know both of those are done fantastically here too. So the first song that we hear in the bar is called Head to Toe, and this is the song that's playing when Shane first arrives at the bar. The lyrics are, "I liked you from the moment you walked in. All the guys are checking you out. I don't care, I already made my move. In the crowd, you're the one I choose. I have a place reserved for you if you're alone or with company. No one but me is going to take you. Tell those guys that I'm the one that saw you first." So again, it's a fun song, it's uplifting, it's boppy, but if you know and understand the lyrics, you can tell that there's a vibe in this bar and Shane's about to meet somebody and he doesn't know it yet. The next song that plays is called Big Haiti, and this is the song that's playing when Shane orders a beer at the bar and he's interacting with the bartender. This song is pretty explicit. I actually probably can't read any of the lyrics, but it's very suggestive and sexual, and I think that that's fitting because, again, in the book, there is more context from Shane's point of view that he is attracted to this bartender and he has thoughts about that while he's standing opposite him. And again, I think Hudson's acting here, you can tell that he's nervous around him and he looks this bartender up and down, and obviously they cast someone who's extremely handsome to play him and smile at him and give him a free drink, which is all, very flirtatious in and of itself. But this song reinforces that narrative as well, because again, it's a very sexual song. It's very poppy, but also, again, by a Haitian artist. So it fits into the scene quite well here. The next song is called The Bongo Hop, which is the song that's playing when Shane meets Rose Landry for the first time. And the lyrics here are interesting. It says, "We walk without knowing where we are going. Hurry, yes, we hurry. I don't know when, but we want to arrive. But our eyes are closed, or we forget to look back at all we have caused. In front of the door back to the house, the man doesn't want to plant near home. Tell me when the sun rises, who will help me make a fire, for the dew to become hope so that we can harvest life. Seeds wander, seeds wander. Your plate is full of diseases. Seeds wander, seeds wander. Our eyes are peeled, but we are sleeping. It's not too late to think. It's not too late to think. Burn, yes, we will burn, to make charcoal. What does it cost? All the mountains are deforested. For every rain, there are eyes that close. Is it normal for us to import what strength of our arms used to give us? In front of the door back to the house, even our rice is not grown near home. tell me. It's a very deep song. I think this song in particular is used more atmospherically than to be taken literally with the lyrics. And again, these are translated, so they're probably not translated perfectly. But I thought the line, "Tell me when the sun rises, who will help me make a fire," was really interesting to hear, because Shane is meeting Rose, and his whole life he's convinced himself that he's just been waiting for the right woman. And in walks Rose Landry, and she seems like absolutely perfect on paper. And so who will help me make a fire is a thought that Shane has had his whole life, because he's felt that fire with Ilya, but has never allowed himself to consider that he could live a true and authentic life with him. And here comes Rose Landry offering that essentially on a silver platter. So I did really like that lyric in particular in context of this scene. The next song is Tu Tien Souvien, probably butchered that, by Lou Phelps. And this is the song that plays when Shane and Rose are flirting with one another. The lyrics here are, "I've already fallen, still got me calling, shots still going, 3 a.m. I should go home now. You don't want to come with. Looking for a reason, you ain't even trying. I won't let it harm me, it's getting alarming. It's only day 26. Girl, you got me going. Roll the marijuana. Living for these moments. My life is a movie. My life is a poem. And the way you got me moving, poetry in motion. Girl, you got me talking, and I don't like to." So that's the first section of the song. So again, it's implying that the person singing is very into this person that they're talking about. And so Shane, looking at Rose lovingly, is aligning with those lyrics in particular. The second verse says, "You remember, you tell me about your problems as if I don't have plenty of my own. I parked my car a few streets away from Avenue de Pine. I walked to Saint Laurent. That's where I saw you. It was freezing. Look how shocked I was. It was like that woman has completely forgotten me, and she acts as if I've never seen her without panties. You won't even tell me what's going on. You are done with me. It was your birthday. Happy birthday. I wasn't ready. I took the hit. I know you did it on purpose. A relationship is something for two people. If one is missing, you won't end up happy. And yet it was for the best. Goodbye. Man proposes, God disposes. I'm the better one. Lost in La Vie en Rose. Man proposes, God disposes. Still got me calling. Shots still going. 3 a.m. I should go home now. You don't want to come with. Looking for a reason. You ain't even trying." So I think this song in particular, you could, if you wanted to, read into it. And this middle part, the second verse, is sort of like Shane grappling with the dynamic between him and Ilya versus how easy it is to talk with Rose Landry, or at the very least, it could be representative of Shane thinking about how this conversation compares to how he feels about Ilya. Because this middle section, where I think the most cutting line is, a relationship is something for two people. If one is missing, you won't end up happy. And yet it was for the best. Goodbye. I think that could represent where Shane's at mentally at this point, because he really doesn't see a way forward with Ilya, and he's sort of absolving himself of the decision here because Rose appeared at this point in time, and it seems to be working well enough for him to go with it. So I thought that was a very interesting song choice as well. The next song that we hear when Shane and Rose are playing poker is called Endondens by Richie J. The lyrics here are, again, sort of that clubby type vibe, so I don't think the lyrics are meant to be taken literally, but they are basically talking about this man who's at this club with this woman. Girl, you are too bad, it's not normal. The way you are drinking is illegal. You are in control of everything. Every game is the game, has Bozel. I can say 2 very immortal things. You can even treat the homeless, mainly the theme about vibe. If it's your body that leads you to dance, take me to the end of the world. It's inside. Yes, it's inside. Inside the dancing, inside has the vibe. So again, it's a very sort of sensual song. It's a very clubby song, and it's played very loud. This song is actually played over the scene, so potentially the characters aren't even hearing this song. It's meant for us to, again, get the sense that there's a vibe between Shane and Rose, and then that's confirmed when Shane puts his hand on her at the end of that scene. The next song is a song by an artist called Satine called Estoi, and I'm again probably butchering that, so sorry. This is the song that plays over the Shane and Rose media montage where we see Ilya seeing them online for the first time. And I translated this, so again, it might not be perfect. The lyrics are so telling if you translate it. If you do not speak French, I think all of us missed out on so much from this song choice, and I thought it was really brilliant once I could read the lyrics themselves. Because again, this is playing over the scene for the viewer. So we are meant to hear the words. It says, I had never written words of love to him before. We walk hand in hand through the streets of Ballancourt. I want to savor every moment, every day. Every moment, every day. And when I thought I'd never see the light again, you chased away all the anger inside me. My heart rate has been racing ever since. I feel like you know me by heart. So glad my flaws didn't scare you off. You are the leading man in my story. I just have one wish, to see our future unfold, to hear our fits of laughter little by little. I feel light as air now that you're here. I've told you I love you about 100,000 times. Never doubted it from the start. You're the one. You're the one. I love your eyes, your body, being in your arms. I've told you I love you, I love you, I love you about 100,000 times. Never doubted it from the start. You're the one. In my little heart, from the very start, you're the one. It's you, you, which again is a callback to the song It's You. Then it continues, I have just one wish, to see our future unfold, to hear our fits of laughter little by little. I feel light as air now that you're here. I told you I love you about 100,000 times. Never doubted it from the start. You're the one. In my heart from the start, the right one is you. It's you. In my heart from the start, the right one is you. It's you. It's you, you. It's you, you. So clearly, as Ilya is watching Shane with someone else, I think this song is meant to sort of be a dual point of view here, because obviously for Ilya, watching the man he loves with someone else, he's saying, I've never doubted it from the start. The right one is you. It's you, it's you, it's you. And for Shane, he is being propped up as this person who's come into Rose's life as the leading man in my story. But personally, I think that this song is put here for Ilya because this whole montage is meant to showcase Ilya's feelings about seeing Shane with Rose, pissed that he let this happen and that Shane walked away from him and went and found somebody else so quickly. The next song that we hear is Distant Rivalry by Peter, and this song plays during the Boston versus Montreal game that takes place following the tuna melt. And again, we hear the voiceover talking about the teams putting distance between themselves and their arch rivals, which is an appropriate sort of voiceover considering the situation between Shane and Ilya. This song is very similar to the first song we ever heard in the series, which is also appropriately called Rivalry. So we get this spin-off to that song to insinuate the shift in the relationship dynamic. And it also has some similar beats to the song Face Off and Strangers on the Ice. So it keeps that consistency between the hockey scenes and their on-ice relationship that we are growing to know better and better every episode of this show. When Ilya hits Shane, there's almost like a siren noise that starts playing, and then as the song fades out and the voiceover talks about how poorly they both played and that neither of them could be found on the ice, the song wraps up when we're watching Ilya looking at himself in the mirror at the hotel. So again, it's representative of Ilya's feelings just being so depleted. And this song is also used over the episode recap before the start of episode 5. So it ties this moment into episode 5 in particular. Then we get the infamous club scene, which I think everybody knows episode 4 for the club scene and All the Things She Said by Tattoo. This scene has been spoken about by Jacob numerous times, which is great because I love hearing him expand upon the choices behind this song and how they almost didn't use it or almost couldn't get it originally. But the scene was carefully planned to be sort of the emotional high point of this episode, and Jacob said he wanted this scene to express Shane and Ilya's longing without relying at all on dialogue between the two of them. So rather than depicting this as a carefree night out, the music takes this scene and uses the music to showcase their jealousy and also their very deep desire for one another. The choice to use Tattoo's song was also deliberate and not necessarily because of the want for nostalgia here. Jacob had said he was looking for a Russian pop song that would be reflective of Ilya's identity, but also something that could carry the emotional weight for a lot of queer viewers who grew up with this song in particular. He knew it would resonate with them. So he felt that it represented the intense longing and emotional conflict that the characters both feel very well, but the song itself has a semi-controversial history. Tattoo were criticized for queer baiting, and one member later made an anti-LGBTQ comment before apologizing, but Jacob said in an interview that he recognized that history, but argued that many queer fans had effectively reclaimed the song as their own. So this song feels very much like an anthem. And then the choice to switch from the original recording over to Harrison's cover song was such a brilliant storytelling device because midway through the scene, the soundtrack transitions into a version of the song sung by a male vocalist. And Jacob had said that he wanted to use two versions of the same song in one scene in order to represent the emotional shift between the two of them while maintaining the same foundation that the song provided. So a male vocalist is the perfect way to do that, but also then shift the song to be applicable to two male characters who are at the center of this story. Jacob had also explained that he wanted the songs in this soundtrack to be songs that audiences already had emotional associations with, and this Tattoo song obviously is a very big one. And instead of using a more generic dance track, he chose music that would transport the viewers to maybe a very specific time in their life or a feeling. And as soon as you attach an emotion like that to a song, it helps heighten all of what you're seeing and feeling when you're participating in this scene alongside the characters. But ultimately, this song is meant to externalize the characters' suppressed feelings. And it's not just playing in the background. It's very much at the forefront of the scene. As soon as you hear those notes when Ilya walks into the club, paired with the lighting and the strobes, it really, really makes it so that this song functions as the narrator of this scene and communicates what Shane and Ilya are not openly saying to one another, especially since Ilya is so mad and Shane is so caught off guard. Jacob's been quoted as saying that he wanted a clubby song that went into a dreamier state, and when he looked up Tattoo, he found all of these covers of all the things she said, and he loved the Harrison version, particularly because he was a male vocalist, but then also because Harrison's version slowed it down. So in the scene itself, we can see how that's used so cleverly because we see Shane approach Ilya and stand across him in this club, but it has more impact because first he's with Rose. The lighting changes. We get the lights strobing in a different way all of a sudden. And the original song cuts out, the Harrison version enters in, and we do this really incredible pan around behind Shane's back so that we can see Ilya with the girl that he's using to make Shane jealous. And then also this slower techno version playing over the scene where they're standing opposite each other on the dance floor, staring at each other, but not saying anything to one another. These lyrics serve as their voices, and then having it carry over into the end of the episode where Shane goes home with Rose, which does not happen in the book, and Ilya goes back to his hotel room alone. And the episode ends, as we all know, where the two of them are staring into the camera, thinking about one another in order to have their release. And the cut off at the end of that scene where we hear Shane's voice as he exhales and then black out the screen. And then the chorus of all the things she said reintroduces itself as the episode credits roll. I just felt like it was so epic and so well done. And it functioned like the montage at the beginning of the episode, where everything was cut along to the beat so beautifully and wonderfly and synced perfectly with the lighting and everything else going on in the scene. It just felt meant to be. And I also found it funny, I guess, during the premiere, I don't know which one, evidently someone asked Connor Story about what song would be playing in the club scene, and he actually said this song before knowing that Jacob was going to use it in the show, because the episode had not come out yet, obviously. So I think that's hilarious that it is such an iconic song that people could have anticipated it slotting into this very famous book scene prior to the show coming out, and then it's kind of on the nose that it was used, but it works so perfectly. I truly can't imagine another song being used here. So that is all of the music from episode 4. There was quite a few needle drops, as I said at the top of the episode, and all of them I love. I really enjoyed how this episode was put together, and I'm very excited about the music of episode 5. I think that that's one of the beefier ones. It's a longer episode. There's plenty of original score and also supplemental music that we get to talk about from the soundtrack and also playing in the background of a bunch of different scenes. So I'm very excited to talk about that next week. And then we'll end on a high note with episode 6, which has the least amount of music. And I think that that's also important to discuss because it's a very conscious decision as well. So as always, if you have listened this far, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you being here. And if you have any questions that you want to submit to a future Q&A episode, please make sure that you send them to me on my TikTok or my Instagram page. I have been compiling them for months now, and we have plenty of things to talk about before season 2 starts. So please keep those coming. And thank you again for listening, and I will talk to you all in our next chat.